Hey my friends, welcome back. What is shaking? We are here on Mark Kelly Farm today, and Kelly told me early in the year that she wanted some venison this year because we hadn't got a deer in the last couple of years because our freezer's been so full. But I told her that I would work on it this year and get her done. So we've got a deer here in the barn we're going to process. Stick around, we'll tell you the story. So it is currently antlerless season here in Nebraska, the first part of January. And I don't shoot for horns, I shoot for meat. I'm not one of those people that go out and have to have this giant rack. So I take a more practical approach to it. I eat what I shoot. We were going to do that this year. We had it all lined out. I've been preparing and everything. Well, a neighbor called me the other day and says, hey, I've got 2 tags. They have landowner permits that they have to where they can take deer off their property that are eating their cattle feed and stuff like that and limit the population. And we live in a mule deer protection area, so the whitetail in this area they pretty much want gone. So they'll let you take whitetail and stuff like that. So my neighbor says, I got 2 tags. You want me to bring you a deer? And I'm like, sure, that's going to save me a lot of headaches. So he showed up yesterday with a deer. And a beautiful specimen at that. The beautiful giant white-tailed doe he was able to get off their property over there. He field dressed it and brought it over. I cleaned it all up, hosed it down real good, and then we brought it in the barn to cool because I had stuff to do yesterday afternoon. So we've got some great hanging weather right now. It got down to 20 overnight. So I normally like skinning a deer when it's warm because the skin comes off a lot easier, but couldn't get her done, so we've got to do that today. So that's what's next on the agenda. We've got the deer back on the tractor here. We're going to get this skin off, and then we'll take it outside and hose her down, bring it back in here to dry out a little bit before we start processing it. If you've never skinned a deer before, I just go around the legs, up the legs, and then just start peeling it over. You can cut right through the tailbone with your knife, and that just comes off with the skin. Now as you're skinning, you want to keep the skin folded over. That way no hair gets on the hide, only the clean part up here. So keep the hide folded down and just keep working your way down. Most of the way it'll just pull down, but if it starts sticking, you just get your knife in here where this little membrane stuff is here and just kind of hit it like that right against the skin, and it'll keep coming down. But we'll take it the rest of the way. We've lost one of the front shoulders over here. The entry wound was around in here in the ribs and then came down through the heart and lung, which is what you want, and then came out this shoulder. So this shoulder is going to be waste. We might be able to get some dog food out of that. But we'll get one front shoulder and then, of course, all the rest of the deer. Got it all skinned. Took it outside the barn here. We're going to hose it down real good, make sure we get any hair that's on that off of it. Then we'll bring it back in the barn. All right, got it back in the barn. It's colder than a well digger's buttocks out here. This thing needs to dry. So I think it's going to be fine. The meat's still pliable. I don't think it's going to freeze solid overnight. So we'll come back tomorrow and we'll start breaking this thing down. All right, my tomorrow is your today as usual. Our meat has cooled down nicely. It was 10 degrees last night, so we're going to start breaking this animal down. First thing we need to do is cut it in half, lengthways right down the spine. To accomplish that, we got our stainless steel blade on our sawzall. It's going to go right down the middle. Okay, the first thing we did is we cut off the end of that hock on our round here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off this flank part here. Most of that's going to go into grind later. I'm going to clean up this fat here. And then I'm going to remove our tenderloins, which are right in here along the inside of the spine, right behind the ribs. They go clear back here and clear down into here. So you just come in underneath these bones and you follow those bones around, peeling it back as you go. And then it'll kind of come out on its own. Okay, there's our first tenderloin. Trim that blood meat off of it. There we go. And that's going to be for supper tonight. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the round from the rest of it here. We're going to do that right kind of where the natural seam is. Go right down through there. And then we're going to cut right across here. Okay, we're through the bone. Now we can just come in here through the meat. There's our round. That's going to be some nice jerky. Put this over here on our primal table. The next thing we'll do is we're going to cut our tenderloin, not our tenderloin, our loin out of this side here. Most people call it the back strap. So to cut the back strap out, come right underneath the bone, again, following the bone. And you want to go kind of in along the spine before you turn down. Spine is kind of vertical on the back there. Get down behind that. And that meat goes clear up in here into the neck. Just get up right underneath that spine. And then we're going to flop this baby over. We're going to make an incision. Well, let's take our front shoulder off first. The front shoulder isn't held on by any bone attachment. All it is ligaments. We want to stay above our back strap. And your front shoulder will roll right out of there like that. Now this one has a lot of damage, but we'll clean it up. I don't know if this one's the one that blowed out. I think it's the other one, so we just have some blood meat here to take off of. So on this side, about that far down, say 4 or 5 inches, we want to come make an incision here. And then we can start rolling that meat off of the bone. Again, you want to follow the bone down. Right down to the rib cage. Let your knife glide along those rib bones. And then you're eventually going to get down to that other seam that you made. We'll cut it here on the neck. And then once you get down to that other seam you made, it'll peel right off. So there's our whole back strap. It's going to make some beautiful chops. Look at that. Now, if you've never tried to bone out a front shoulder, it's difficult. So my preferred method now is to leave this front shoulder whole, and then we roast this in the barbecue whole and break down all those connective tissues, and it makes a beautiful roast and the bones pull right out of it. Next thing we want to do is we want to clean up this side. Got a lot of nastiness over here. Now that we've got a lot of this fat off here and tore up meat, we can start carving some meat off of these ribs to put in our grind pile. A lot of your gaminess that people don't like about venison comes from the fat. So I trim off quite a bit of the fat, almost all of it. And then if we need fat, we're going to add some like pork fat to it. But this meat just trims right off of those ribs like that. Pretty much down to the ribs right there. I'll trim off some of this nastiness here. A little bit of that won't hurt you. So we got some really good meat right here as well too. So we'll follow the ribs down and take some of that off. Take this little bit of fat off here. Put that meat in the grind pile as well. Okay, now we're going to go into the intercostal spaces of the rib. Carve that all the way out. All right, this side is done. It's picked as clean as if a buzzard ate it. We'll break down those hindquarters in a little bit, but over there in the tub we have back strap, we have the front shoulder, and we have the tenderloin, and then we have all our grind here. So I'll get these ribs off the table, we'll go get our other half, and we're going to do the exact same thing, although I think the other shoulder is the one that got blowed out. Okay, now we're going to show you how to trim up these back strap. I usually get down here where it's kind of small and it's not going to make a very good chop. I'll just cut that. It's got a little silver skin on there, but we're going to grind it, so that's not going to make much difference. And then on the other side, you've got this kind of fat cap, and it's separated by a little membrane in here. So we want to go ahead and pull that off. Usually strip it off pretty easy. Want to make sure we take off any meat we can from there. Not a lot, but don't want to let any of this stuff go to waste. Took this animal's life to feed you. You want to make sure you honor that and use as much of the meat as you can. So we'll strip this off of here. So now we have this silver skin on here that needs to come off. And to get that off, you fillet it kind of like you would if you were filleting a fish, how you fillet the skin off of the fish. So I usually start on my small side here, and I like to go off the edge of the table so I can work my knife down. And I'll just send my knife down to that silver skin and then run your knife right along the bottom, like that. A little bit and take off the end here. So now I'll just take this inside. I got the other one cleaned up already, and you just start cutting chops. You can butterfly them open, which you mean you cut them double wide, and then the center you cut them right almost all the way through, and then you can butterfly it open. There's our beautiful back strap. Now on your round, you'll see that there's these seams in between the muscle groups. You want to work through those seams. You can see where it goes down through there. Now that we've got our hind quarter or our round cut into the different muscle groups, I have a little jerky board here I made. Got a little bit higher sides than it does the bottom. So take your meat, put it on here, and then you run your knife right along that edge while you push the meat down. And you get your thin slices of jerky meat. So we're going to cut all this round into jerky meat, and then we'll do the other round, and we'll be done. All right, there's all of our grind in the 2 bags, all of our jerky meat, tenderloins, back straps, front shoulder. So time to go in. We need to weigh the grind so we know how much pork fat to get to mix with it. We'll get the jerky going in its seasoning. Here's all of our waste. Not very much, mostly bones and some blood meat. So we'll get this stuff in the house. There's the shoulder going in the bag. Now we're sealing the chops up. There's our whole shoulder, our front shoulder. Here's all of our chops from our back strap. Here's our tenderloins. We're doing fajitas for supper. With those, both of those tenderloins comes out to just under a pound. We have all of our jerky meat over here that we're going to make jerky out of, but that's a whole nother video. And we have our 2 big bags, probably 15 pounds of grind down in the downstairs fridge that we'll deal with also in another video. Well, I make dinner for me and my lovely wife. I thank you for coming along with our deer processing video here. We've done more. You can look at those in the past. We've done different things. So stick around, come back again for the jerky and the grind. I don't know what we're going to make with the grind yet. Probably maybe summer sausage or something like that. So come back and see us. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy. Love you guys. See you soon.